I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Trustee Cheney?
Here?
Trustee Foster?
Here?
Mayor Nembhard?
Here.
Trustee Fluor?
Here.
Stephen Gaba?
Present.
And Trustee McKnight is off, is absent.
May I have a motion to accept the minutes of January 6, 2025?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And a motion to accept the following reports: December 2025 Clerk's Office, Justice Department, Planning Department, Department of Public Works, and Building Department fee report.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And a motion for authorization to pay all approved and audited claims in the amount of $354,498.80.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Chief Rader emailed me, he's not going to be here this evening, he'll be at the next meeting. So we have a public hearing on the proposed local law number 2 of the year 2025. If you would read the public notice, Jen?
Yes. Please take notice that the Village Board of the Village of Warwick will hold a public hearing on the 21st day of January 2025 at 7:30 p.m. at Village Hall, 77 Main Street, Warwick, New York, 10990, on a proposed local law number 2 of the year 2025 to amend Village of Warwick Village Code, Chapter 34, Amusements and Exhibitions. The purpose of this local law is to promote the public health, safety, and welfare by amending Village of Warwick Village Code, Chapter 34, Amusements and Exhibitions, to delete and revise certain obsolete provisions. A copy of the proposed local law is on file in the office of the village clerk and is available for inspection by interested persons during village clerk's business hours. And the proposed local law has also been posted on the village's website, villageofwarwick.org. The village board will, at the above date, time, and place, hear all persons interested in the subject matter hereof. Persons may appear in person or by agent. All written communications addressed to the board must be received by the board at or prior to the public hearing.
Okay. Do you want to add anything to?
Sure. What brought this on was an application for an arcade, a video arcade in the village. And it called to the village board's attention that there were certain provisions in the amusements and exhibitions on private property section which were, amusements and exhibitions, which were antiquated, not the least of which was persons under, I think it was 21, could not go into arcades, which the times have changed. So those provisions, the ones that were considered antiquated, and some of the information regarding submitting of applications has been deleted. We've tightened up the language to make it a little bit more usable in terms of submitting a license for an arcade, and it's as simple as that.
Great. And the Sunday provision, that was?
The Sunday, yes, no arcades on Sundays.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there were a couple, like I said, that were just antiquated, and they were taken.
Okay, very good, thank you. So I'm opening it up to the public, if you have any comments or concerns. That's why we're here. Okay. All quiet on the Western Front. So may I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And so that is not part of our motions, I don't believe, right?
No, we need resolution adopting the
Okay.
local law, so I'll prepare that and submit it to the board.
Okay, great. Tonight we have a presentation on petition for zone change of 1 Galloway Heights and the conceptual plan. So gentlemen, if you want to come forward and...
My name is Bob Krahulik. I'm the attorney for Warwick Commercial Properties LLC. And with me tonight is Brian Singer, who is the sole member and manager of Warwick Commercial Properties. We submitted a package. We submitted a few copies, and I also think digital copies were distributed, so hopefully all board members
Yeah, we have them in our
have
packet.
an opportunity to take a quick look at it. One thing I want to highlight, how quickly we forget, and even I've forgotten, is how poorly the property looked before Brian began his redevelopment project. And When I saw the pictures, I quickly remembered, yeah, it was in pretty rough shape. And it occurred to me what a wonderful job Brian has done in bringing the property to where it is today. We have some conceptual plans and a proposed site plan showing what Brian would like to do with the property to continue his vision of what the entire site could look like if brought to fruition. But the only way we get
They're
there
all separate.
Yeah.
is if we can achieve a zone change. The current zoning, although it may allow what's there today, would not allow a build-out to the extent Brian would like to do it, for the primary reason that the current zoning doesn't allow favorable setbacks for building location and, more importantly, for parking. So a change in zoning would be required in order to fit the parking and the buildings in the manner that will be required in order to provide enough parking spaces for the proposed improvements. With that being said, there's been a lot of questions and concern about the historic use of the property, whether we're conforming today, whether it's a legal pre-existing use, or whether it's an illegal use as of today. So I'm going to let Brian work through a narrative that was provided describing the history of the property up until where we are today, and then going to allow him to spend a little time reviewing the site plan and some of the photographs, or I should say the architectural renderings that Brian submitted for his vision of what the site could look like in the future.
Can we just pause and make sure that we've got all the hard copy documents distributed? These are the ones that we should have in front of us.
So I have a Galloway Heights elevation, the rear elevation, and the elevation facing Anytime Fitness.
Yes,
Those are three.
so the 4 elevations around what would be 1 Galloway Heights.
There's a fourth.
I have a rear elevation and elevation facing Anytime Fitness. I don't have that one.
Let me see.
Oh.
Oh, maybe, is that it?
So this would be Galloway Road. That's the so Galloway Road as you go up along Galloway Road. Then rear elevation, which was facing 17A. So let me see
There
which
you go.
ones.
Rear elevation, Galloway Road elevation.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Galloway Heights.
Yeah, that's best.
So this is facing from what would be towards Galloway Road, from looking outside of Anytime Fitness. Galloway Road is facing there. This is from the rear parking lot towards what would be 17A. And, sorry, this is Galloway Heights. This is going up the side of the structure, the front of the structure, 17A facing. So, we have...
Okay, I'm just trying to
It's
think.
easier for me to
Yeah, I think
probably
maybe,
show here.
yeah, because I'm disoriented and usually good at that.
And is it connected?
It's not connected. So, Galloway Heights elevation, coming from this way, elevation, Anytime Fitness, Galloway Road elevation, coming from there, and the rear elevation coming from here. This proposed building is the size of the existing building with parking. I'm not increasing the density coverage, the impervious coverage of this lot. So this is where the large parking lot is.
So in terms of square foot, it's the same?
Coverage, not the same square foot size building,
Yeah.
the impervious coverage.
Oh, the impervious, okay. But then you're adding impervious surface to
No,
the,
total, I'm not increasing impervious on this lot. So, what I'm tearing down with the parking, that's why I reduced it down to 6 spots. This building is the same impervious coverage that's there on that existing lot.
Right.
There's a
Just the floor area ratio is changing.
floor, yes, the size of the building,
right.
Yeah.
yes.
So it's almost double.
The building size is double,
Yeah,
adding 2 stories.
yeah.
So then the apartments are here, that are here, or like any window that would look out this, they would be looking at the brick building?
Yes, so this would be the,
Would
this
be like, wait.
facing. So as you go around the structure, there's different entrances on each one. I gave a construction plan too, more detailed in the overall
Right.
plans that I sent.
Yeah,
Didn't want to give it here, but you can see how it's laid out, Chris Collins, on how this structure is built. So, that's this area. Area off of, what would be overlook going up. An existing building, existing foundation that's there that I never built on, cost-wise at the time. To build that, trying to add 600 square feet to that. This doctor left and I have another one who's moving in, interested in adding, making this his, making a bathroom and, reception area. In here, you go into the doctor's office. The structure is, currently there's a trailer that I use for maintenance for snow plowing stuff. Right here, I'd like to build a shed there. This covers around, you would just see the roof of that. So now, let me go over the history. 2015, I closed on the property. It was looking like this. Brought it to this level. I spent upwards of $4 million. There's 12 businesses in this now. 10 are owned by Warwick people. The other 2 from Monroe. 92 employees on this property. 82 are from Warwick. Have an issue with the parking lot. When I came before the board in the beginning, thought all along with the professionals, was not a commercial real estate developer, owned residential properties. Worked out a site plan, made this what we thought would be employee parking. Out of those 82 employees, 70 are women. They're not walking behind the building over here. Not happening, didn't happen, so I had this area. Never did I ever say I was gonna go from the inside of this building. I was always gonna go from the outside. None of my plans had ingress from the first floor to the second floor. It's always gonna go from the outside to this side of the structure. Because if I did that, I have to put an elevator in here and 2 sets of stairs for code. Could not afford that. So, the plan was always to do this. By me putting this in here, yes, I moved forward. I thought I was negotiating to buy the Warwick Motel. Contract went on for 2.5 years. He sold to somebody else. Couldn't get the financing because how that business was structured. There was personal loans not from this country on it. Couldn't make it work. So, thought I'd be before this board sooner. At the same time, I purchased this building from Regal Property. So, now tried to tie everything together. Warwick Motel doesn't seem like that's gonna work. I was trying to put sidewalks all the way up the next street and connect over to Park Ave. And from this down to Larry's. That was my overall plan. If literally 4 homes and 1 business, you're connected 800 homes that go up behind
no,
us
we know
We
very
know,
well.
to the school.
Yeah,
So-
it's been a,
In my proposal, I was
Vision
gonna
for
pay for that at that time if I could have got that Warwick Motel, because I would have redid this whole side. Negotiated with the dentist, he was all for it. Would have made this a very attractive area to walk for everybody walking to Park Ave.
well, let's focus
So,
on this.
Let's focus on this right now. I'll go back to these 2 structures. In the last meeting, so I gave notes on this. In the last meeting we had just the history on 1 Galloway Heights and 4 Overlook. 1 Galloway Heights. This is from your guys' building records. Said it was you guys expressed that it was a single family house. So I'm just gonna go what I got from the building upstairs, building records. It was built in 1942 as a single family. 1982, Dr. Myers got approved for a dental office on the first floor with an apartment on the second floor. 1997, Dr. Myers Knarsworth and us move his practice up the street. He then split the space into an apartment on the first floor, tried for a beauty salon, that didn't work, with apartment above, so now it's 3 units. Two residential, 1 office. 2001, Linda Blake purchased it, a lawyer, moved into the lawyer's office, so now apartment, lawyer office, apartment upstairs. 2004, Patty Brady bought it, Regal Homes, and ran it as a real estate office in that. I purchased from her in 2022, real estate office, residential. They moved out, the residential, said it was commercial. Now I rented that January 1st as residential. So that's a 3-unit residential. Didn't change anything, didn't have to. It's been the same structure, the same. If I'm proposing to tear it down, I'm not going to put much money into it to.
Right,
But
right, understood.
it's in there, it's all, everything's the code, nothing's changed in my zoning. If the upstairs map says it's office overlay, that's what I was working off of, not sure if that's what the zoning is. So what I'm proposing to do is tear that building down and do a residential building here. Now, Ford Overlook. So Ford Overlook was built in 1955 as a single-family house. 1962 to 1975, it was the New York State Troopers Barracks. Garage level on the first floor, 1 story above. Troopers Barracks, up until 1975. 1975, Ralph Fredolino, local builder, purchased it, took that first floor, raised it up, put another floor in there. Became a 2-family, approved 2-family with garage below that he ran his construction business out of. He ran that until 1990, then rented to Marcolini Construction on the lowest level, 2 apartments above. Mystic Valley bought it in 2000, continued as the same. Bill Roche had his construction stuff down there, 2-family above. I purchased it in 2015, and I rented as office space at that point. Renovated. Like I said, I'm not set on, I'd like for those people to stay, leave it as office. I don't know the exact zoning that I would need for it, but if it's an office, I don't anticipate me doing anything else with it. But I built them as residential. So if I have to make them residential apartments in there, it's code for residential is actually above code because it has all exit signs and additional
So it's,
fire rock.
so the downstairs is commercial, is the upstairs residential or it's
There is
commercial
no
as well?
residential in it right now.
Okay.
It's, the gentleman who's on the, what would be the second floor as you pull in, Barrett Construction, he sublet it to a real estate office, but I haven't seen anybody there in a very long time.
Mhm.
Bob Schmick upstairs,
Right.
the surveyor.
Yeah.
That's who's in that structure. So, the parking lot that I need to address is based on setbacks. If it's general commercial, it fits in. If not, then I have to go to get a variance to make that parking lot fit. The parking lot, totally encapsulated with a fence. I have 1 home that can see it from their 2nd story, which is the building as you go up. So those 22 spots there, I don't think there's too many in the village that nobody can see a parking lot. Totally hidden, trees, it's raised up. The only gentleman who could see it is Frank Sinopoli, looking down. But since I've been there, I've had no issues since we put the fence up. So before you to figure out the exact way I put a single layer of pavement in there. If it has to be pervious, which means take that out and put it to meet zoning requirements and the bulk tables for stormwater and stuff like that, that can be done. I'm not trying to fight over it, but if me adding here, here, and here, I'm adding 30 spots of parking to this site. So that's the history on it.
Okay.
Actually, one more. When I came in 2014, sat down with the mayor, this building right here had 700 tons of contaminated soil. So a lot of people try to buy it. I cleaned it up, cleaned the soil out of it, and renovated it. At that time, the minute I bought it, I had 2 businesses. Sat down with the mayor about it. Stewart's gas station, Dollar General. I would have doubled my money in one day after cleaning up this property. I told the mayor I would not, I live here, live a mile up the road, and I wanted to make it a nice place for when you come into Warwick. I think I've lived here my whole life. Any construction I do, I try to do a very nice product, and I've had no complaints. The year before I purchased this, there were 68 times the building department or police department were on this property. Halfway house on 4 Overlook. Drug house here. Not sure what they were doing in each one of these, but 68 times. The only calls I've had on this property since I bought it for 10 years is from that motel. There's the people from there coming onto here and having issues, breaking into cars and that thing. No other issues besides some fender benders, people hitting each other. But no criminal activity, nothing that, when this was purchased, was happening with this property. So, invested my time and still want to invest time and make this, finish everything that I said I was going to do from the beginning with it.
So, but maybe Bob, you could help me with this. What is the pathway? What is the, is it a zone change? Or wouldn't,
Well, with the path of last resort would be going to the zoning board of appeals
Right.
to get necessary variances to maintain that parking lot.
Right.
At a minimum, we know we have to do that.
okay.
A more attractive use of the property, in our opinion, is to build out the proposed building on Galloway Heights Road. And in essence, utilize this parking area as parking for the building,
Sure.
which right now is really
No man's
additional
land.
parking that is not being utilized to its full extent at this point in time.
Excuse me 1 second. How many apartments?
It would be 12.
12. Okay.
8 2-bedroom, 4 1-bedroom. The price point for the 2-bedroom is $2,200 to $2,300. Much different than
You
on
don't-
Forster, higher because they have garages and
Right.
it's an 800 square foot renovating a house at 67 South Street. Put a sign out there, and in 1 month I had 98, just a sign, 98 calls for 2-bedroom apartments driving by. So, price point on that, in that range, it's probably in the 16 to 1,700 for a 1-bedroom, 22 to 23 for a 2-bedroom.
They have no, they have no like public congregation area.
So
There's
what,
just benches around the outside.
yeah, so what I would like to do is in this area over here is set up a parking, tables, grilling areas, something like that. I have to see with the site plan but along over here, there's 3 weeping willow trees that are a mess. They were never maintained, and so that is the barrier between us. But in this area here, I'm proposing to put like a sitting area and that stuff. There was that are grown over, but there's a
They don't have any balcony or anything either,
No.
so, yeah.
no, it would be inside, but along in this area, so have benches. So there's along this area here. It was at one time the sitting area with a dentist. That's what they had in that area. So that's in that. I would remove them and do something here, here, here.
Yeah, I saw that.
What's the price point on the one bedrooms?
1,600.
So some technical revisions that I'll highlight. The existing lot line between this parking lot and the proposed building would be eliminated. So the parking would be on the same lot as the proposed building. There'd be a minor adjustment in the location of the lot line on this side of the building to maintain the required setbacks. The lot line runs parallel to the rear of the building, and that line is drawn in light green. By adding this parking to the proposed building, we then fall a little bit short on parking over here, but we make up for it if we can get approval for the parking lot up on Overlook Drive.
So there was excess parking to begin with on 2?
On 2 over here?
Yeah.
Well, this, the original plan, sat down with the planners and the site plan engineers, lawyers, sufficient parking that we had figured out all these buildings.
Just sufficient or
Including-
excess?
Well, I would say I've never had anybody not park.
In relative to the requirements that are in the zoning?
I've never had anybody park out in the street until,
What's the code require? That's the
The
question.
code requirement based on
Yes,
usage and square footage.
I met that usage in terms of, with this lot.
Okay, with that lot?
Yes.
So by removing the parking from that lot, putting it with
The apartment.
Galloway, you're
Yes.
basically creating a nonconformity on your existing lot.
On this lot.
No, on
But
two,
then
on 2.
I'm gonna put this into, make this part of the site plan, so these 20 spaces and these 20 spaces. So I take this area here, this area to that parking, now for 2 Overlook, for one, to replace this parking. So now I'm the same exact,
So I just, and as you pointed out before, people who are working in this building do not use that.
the only one right now are the neighbors in the street who I allow to park there. There's, once in a while, the Galloway Grill has a stand here. If you go there, you can speak to the neighbors around it. Herb Wood, Stan Smith, don't know the names, they sold over here, but they use it. So last snowstorm, I had 6 cars in here that were not with the neighbors. Majority of the employees over here, this is the path along the back of this building. Was an error. Realized it right away that majority of the employees here are female, walking behind this building. Put out this is employee, that's what we originally discussed in 2014. Just employee parking. The only couple gym guys who go there. It's just because it's the back side of this building. They parked over here. So it became an overflow issue. That was in the beginning.
I think you may have changed it, but I believe last time you were here, you were discussing switching the entrance to the gym here. Is that what you said, and using that as gym parking
No.
Okay.
To
for
the
the
structure.
building? Okay.
And then take, because this is not in any calculations right now,
Okay.
this parking lot. This is the same as this. Would add these 3.
So the 6 parking spots are a continuation of the parking that you have, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
And I try to get,
And so if that is for the tenants,
so these are both the entrances, which would be the Galloway Heights elevation coming from here. There's entrances into this area. So this is facing this way. Looking for these for this, but I try to get for electric vehicles. There's a utility pole right here, and electric vehicles. A common, not a complaint, but people ask, especially at the gym, for electric vehicles.
so it's really for the gym proposed?
This would be a cross easement, but if anybody has an electric vehicle in this building, they can park here. It's not gonna be, each one of these lots has cross easements between them for sewer and water, 'cause, excuse me, sewer goes through here. The cross easement for parking between each of the structures, each of the buildings, each of the lots. That's what exists between the 4 existing lots right now. I purchased this, it's not a cross easement yet. So there's no avenue for parking here, but I would make it a cross easement for everybody to use either the parking.
My concern is the proximity to these buildings, because if you have apartments back here and the windows are facing here, they're gonna be looking at the brick building.
At this over here, this
Yeah.
building down here, I have, there's a row of arborvitaes in this area here. So, arborvitaes continue them right down. There's 3 weeping willows that have been there for quite some time. I will continue the arborvitaes right down along there. So you're gonna see the beginning of this, on the original plan. So right along this area here, there's 8 or 10 arborvitaes that run down along here. It's about halfway up the structure. And I have 3 weeping willows. So what I would do is I take this would be the property line, run them right down alongside, make this a sitting area over here, right down along that side. Those arborvitaes would be on the gym side of this. Right here, they sit right down, right along this catch basin. So right up to, I'd say here, about 30 feet down the the structure.
Is that area pervious or impervious?
This is pervious. This is
Oh, it's one basin.
yeah,
Oh, okay,
right in this area here.
okay.
So I
So
have
it
plantings
goes
here.
down,
Yep.
okay.
I have plantings along here with arborvitae running alongside of it to block out the view set up from this building.
But it's like a rain garden.
No, I don't believe so.
No.
Just catch basin.
Just a catch basin. Yeah,
Oh.
it's just a stormwater. This area coming in, it has plantings for stormwater and has drainage underneath it. The catch basin comes here, runs into this is underground stormwater in underneath here.
There are chambers
Cham-
underground
Okay.
that handle the stormwater for the property.
So this is catch basin. This area here that runs into this whole area here is underground chambers for stormwater.
Do you have any intention of in the future connecting the buildings? Because it looks like they're close enough you could
No,
connect them.
no, I would leave this residential. Like I said, my reason is the amount of people looking for 1 and 2 bedroom places and a attractive price point.
Right.
So, on 67 South, a little bit closer into the village and a little bit larger apartment for the 2 bedroom, so another 100 square feet. I had it at $2,300, and like I said, in 1 month, I put it up there to see how much interest, and so in 1 month they had 97 calls. So took the sign down, and we'll be renting it out shortly, that 2 bedroom. So I just tried to keep it separate, clean up the property lines, because these cut from the back, do a lot line change. This is residential, and then the rest is commercial.
Then it would be one lot. This,
No.
I mean, would that remain? So,
These are separate lots here right now.
I see.
So this would come up to this point. So it would be Galloway Heights, 60 Galloway, 62 Galloway, 2 Overlook, 4 Overlook. So these all exist, these lot lines exist up to this point. And I'm proposing to do a lot line change to bring this up along here. Because this comes across,
Yeah.
cuts through the back here. Then these already have cross easements between them. Cross easements, each have cross easements. This does not. This was purchased 2 years ago.
The addition to this building,
Yes.
what does that mean? I mean, does that?
There's an existing foundation there right now
Mhm.
with concrete, never been used.
So is it part of the site plan, the original?
It's part of the original site plan. It just sits there. Was trying to figure out what to do. The doctor was gonna put tables out there, sat there, and the employees, because of people facing here, didn't work out too well. So it's set up as an outside area, but nobody used it, so there's no tables, it's vacant. It's just a concrete pad with a wall, 5.5 foot wall around it that comes down at an angle over here.
If someone has, are you particular marketing, like with someone in particular in mind? Because one of the things that I keep going back to is like what if someone has children, right? There's like no safe place for them to be outside of the immediate four walls of their
Well,
apartment.
I don't know if, I'll give you Forrester. I don't know if there's anything set up from there. I mean, I'm directly across from
They have
the
that
school.
courtyard, I guess, and they
Yeah.
haven't, they have a
Yeah.
courtyard
Yeah.
that is within, that's outside, but it's like, you know,
So what I have room here, I can even put something along this back area here, just for a little bit and bring it up to this line. I just put it there just to, as you see down this side, not to see the side of this building more from here, to leave this open from this one house over here. I can move this up 10 feet. And make this,
yeah, just for quality of life. I
Yeah.
recognize that they're close to the park, but it's not right there.
Yeah.
And
I have no, like I said, this is, has pavers in there. It was at one time, I don't know exactly what they used it for, but it has pavers that run down this whole side there that sit underneath these trees. So there's some shrubs there, not necessarily nice trees. That whole area, I can move this forward. This structure building along this back here.
Yeah, that might be a good idea, and the reason why, the only green space is that corner, basically.
In this area here,
Yeah.
and down this side and along the back.
But I mean, that's right between two major roads, or, Galloway
Mhm.
Heights is pretty busy, so,
There's a stone pillar with one large tree here.
right,
So in this
No.
area, you see plantings.
yeah, but you don't want
But-
kids playing in that, so.
No, but I can definitely move this forward and put something back here. And these spots up here, I'm gonna say have to be there. They're not. I just, this,
they have to be there, you said,
they
or
do
they
not
don't
have
have
to
to
be.
be?
yeah,
Yeah.
by the requirements for the amount of spaces in this building with this parking lot here.
Yeah,
So-
it might be worth just considering that, because you have like entryways on all sides here,
Mhm.
but no, people don't have like any space.
Okay.
you
Yeah,
know?
no, this was, it doesn't, it saves me money removing it. But I put it in there it was really for the electric vehicles.
But you could do that in,
I can do it over here in this area here, with these last 4 electric vehicles here,
Yeah,
They can use it at that point too, they can come there, and it can be a walkway that comes over.
and I would be concerned about those 6 parking spots being taken by the gym folks,
Yeah,
and then somebody who's living there would get really
yeah.
unhappy.
yeah, it
Yeah, no,
really,
no, I was trying to more handicap and more, as you looped around here with they needed to be 4, I can make it small, but I can eliminate it. It's really not something that's needed by code for residential, so it can be green up front. I could push this forward and make it back here, just plantings and stuff up along the front. There's a sidewalk that runs down here right now, and it's right here right
and
now.
they can access the bus stop. Yeah,
Where this structure is now sits further forward than this building. It sits out to this,
Right,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
out to here.
Yeah.
So I just pushed it back, so it needs to be better if I just push it back with them.
yeah, I mean,
That's one of the things I hear about the new construction that we have in the village. It all seems very close to the road,
Mhm.
and I understand that. It's,
Yeah. So I can, like I said, move this up to this line, make this sight line with the front of this building. It's still less than this other one's out to here, So it's less than it and just make this green over here. And then we give me more room back here for tables and sitting area, play area.
Steve, you want to chime in?
Well, as the board, I'm sure, recalls from the memo I submitted, a concern here anyway, is that if you grant a zoning change, it's not just for what Mr. Singer's proposing, it's for any use that's permitted
Right.
in the district.
That's
And
right.
Mr. Singer, he should live to 110, won't always be here, and you don't know if the person who comes after him is going to want to change to something else which may not be in line with what you're looking at. I'd suggest going to the ZBA and seeing if you get variances. Well, maybe it's not, maybe you're not concerned about what I pointed out. I mean, if you are, you're gonna have to take steps to address it. If you're not, you can just move forward. So I guess that's where we should start off with. Are you worried about other uses or not worried about other uses, or?
Well, there's always that possibility. And there, I mean.
There's a wide variety of uses in the list
In
that
the
would
list,
be
yeah.
allowable.
Yeah.
So if this is residential, have, where there's no issue with zoning on that, just, there is no commercial in there. And I'm not sure what would be the zoning classification for that structure, for that building, for that lot. Here, I'm trying to make it office with a possibility of apartment above. I'm not sure, and I would limit it to office. It doesn't, I have they're attractive size offices. I have no issue renting it as office. What's happening now? There seems to be a lot more interest in residential apartments in the village of Warwick. So I was leaving it as if I could do office on 4 Overlook with an apartment above, or it be all office. I'm not sure if that's can happen, or I have to choose between either or. It's 3 stories there. I know the basement level, it's not 50% below grade, so it would still be considered a basement, if that's correct. If that's an open area, and then there's just a bathroom and it's an open area. If that's an office and the floor above an office and an apartment upstairs, or does it all have to be office?
Well, let me say this about that. You've petitioned for a zoning change. You have at least a rudimentary site plan, which may be changing things around.
Okay.
There's only so much this board can do for you in terms
Okay.
of a zoning change. I mean,
Yeah.
we could go nuts and, come to new zoning classification for PUD. That's really not in line with what's in your comp plan. As I said in my letter, what he's proposing now, it's not in, your comp plan to do this, but it's not in there that you can't do it either. So you have discretion to take this action.
Well,
I think
the-
it is in line
in-
with the
yeah.
comp plan.
We talked about middle housing.
Yeah, the missing middle.
Okay, surely you can find some tenants in your comprehensive plan which would support this. What
Yeah.
I'm saying
Okay.
is, it's not prohibited by your comprehensive plan. You can't enact zoning that's contrary to what's in your comprehensive plan.
Sure.
This is not contrary to what's in your comprehensive plan. If you went and tried to create a planned unit development district or something like that that's not mentioned in your comprehensive plan, you're really going out on a limb a little bit.
Right.
But the point I was trying to make is, he's gotta come up with a plan that fits within your zoning districts and make it work, and then come to you and say, this is the change that I want. I think that's what you've done.
Yeah.
So the next step is to decide if you're concerned about the possibility of unintended consequences down the road, other uses coming in. And there are a couple of ways you can address that. The first way is the way I pointed out in my letter. If he wants to go and apply for a variance to the ZBA, he'll get a very limited and specific variance to build what it is he wants to build. If you don't want to go that route and you want to go the route of a zoning change, you can also
Can we
enact it.
exclude uses? Is that what you're
Yes.
about to say? Yeah,
And
that's
What
what I would
do
think.
is I would enter into a developer's agreement saying,
Yeah.
if he gets this zoning change, he will impose either a restrictive covenant or some other limitation to whatever it is that he's going to build, or exclude uses from the property
Yeah.
going forward.
Sorry to
There's not
interrupt,
a-
but that's what I did when I had a lot of interest from outside sources with gas stations and larger. So I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for mom and pop owned restaurant and a gym and that kind of stuff, and I limited the, as a developer, limited the uses, what could be used in these buildings based on a general commercial. I wasn't trying to, put a bank in here, put a car wash, I still have no issue limiting the uses on them.
What we should do, if that's what you want to do, is offer a contract called the developer's agreement to the village board. It couldn't say that you will get a zoning change in return for this, but it would say if there's a zoning change, you'll agree to these limitations or
Okay.
restrictions, or what have you.
Yeah, I mean, sorry.
No.
I think there's a limited number of these things that that really are not compatible with what's going on. But for example, in the future, if needs around automobiles changed and that site became appropriate for like a boutique hotel, we would not want to preclude that, so to me that kind of an approach makes sense, and then like eliminating some of the uses that would really be not compatible with the area.
Well, and if that's the way you want to go, and I'm not suggesting you do, I'm just saying it's an option, what would happen, I would think, is have the agreement drawn up. He's gonna have to go back to the planning board with his proposal. You already have a petition for a zoning change. You're gonna have to undertake secret review. I would think you'd wanna do it on the whole project. And I think the planning board should be lead agency for that secret review.
Definitely.
You can tee up the public hearing for the zoning change. The law is simple enough to draw up. It would include, of course, the proposed developers agreement, and you just move forward from there. Your planning board sometimes completes their secret review quickly, sometimes they wait until after the public hearing. So I don't know how quickly that's gonna be done, how long it's gonna take to get to that point, but that seems to me the most, if you don't wanna go to the ZBA, the most straightforward way of addressing this project with the concerns about uses that you may not wanna allow.
How, if the Galloway Heights property is changed to GC, does that allow residential in the GC?
I wasn't looking to change the Galloway Heights to
Okay,
GC, yeah.
all right, so that would
Yeah.
remain residential, and then the parking lot, would you look for a zone change to make that residential?
For.
The parking lot for the Galloway Heights property?
Yes, because I'm doing
Yep.
a lot line
Right.
change here.
Yes.
I would propose to make that for residential, this area here.
So that would require then a zone change of that lot,
Yes.
the parking lot area, to residential, and then it would require a special use permit from the village board because it's more than 2 units.
Units, yes,
So that in addition to the zoning change,
yeah.
Can I ask a stupid question? I've confused myself. So we're talking about, for that particular property, moving to light industrial?
Which
Is that
property?
the ask?
Which property?
It's not, right? That one?
No, it'll stay residential.
Still
Oh,
residential.
okay. All right, sorry.
And then the GC portion of it, that's the parking lot,
Will
would
become
be
residential.
change to residential.
Okay.
Yes,
And that's much more specific than GC.
yes.
Okay, but then the light industrial is further in. Okay.
No light industrial.
There's no light industrial in this.
No,
GC.
general commercial.
Limited office overlay.
Okay.
There's the office overlay.
I don't know where I got that from then.
maybe the other petition for.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
that's what I think.
Okay. Well,
I don't have any other questions. I like the idea of the developers agreement because it can, because you want to provide maximum flexibility, but then make sure that we don't end up with
Yeah, and I'm,
deleterious
Yeah.
uses down the way.
you don't tear it down and put a Dollar General there.
yeah, no, I'm happy.
Well, we'd be happy to draft something and submit it to the board for review.
I think that would be the next step.
And could that include what, regarding kind of the access, the quality of use, outdoor access space,
Yeah,
like
no,
that
I
would
mean,
be inclusive?
And we can amend the plan at the same time and move the building up front and show a little recreational area between the parking lot and the building.
Yeah, or some
Yeah.
space, like some sort of,
Yeah.
if possible, some sort of private space for
Yeah.
each resident, to just,
This structure can be turned this way,
Mhm.
and then I would meet where the existing structure is right now. They
Mhm.
wouldn't see down from this side, and you'd have a larger area in this area here. So, something like that could happen.
Or they
I
could
could
have
set
some
it up
kind of
where,
porch, yeah.
where Chris Collins draws it up, that it's coming from this side, and you can see what it looks like facing down this area here.
Yeah,
With
and
that
I,
space.
that's what I was gonna say. I would love to see a rendering of this view here, because
Okay.
maybe this isn't as narrow as I feel like it is. I would
Down
just
here?
like to see it.
Yeah, so that would be this area facing
Mm-hmm.
from that way.
But
That's
you
this
said
side of the
there's,
structure.
there's a whole row of arborvitae.
There's a whole
There's a-
arborvitae's and
yeah,
stuff in there.
Trees, is that them?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm playing.
I know, it's,
So for overlook, no.
Yes.
Wait till we get through that.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
them
they're
there.
right
The arborvitae's underneath there here. So you see where the front of this building is here? This
Yeah.
is all parking lot around this.
Right.
And this is where the pavers are underneath there here. This is the arborvitae's down here. Those are the willow trees. So you see where that structure is farther up here. And there's a walkway over there.
Steve, with the developer's agreement, can that be changed in the future by a future board?
Well, the developer's agreement is gonna provide that there are limitations on the property, restrictive covenant or whatever it is. The developer's agreement itself wouldn't be recorded with the county clerk. The documents, like a restrictive covenant, that he would be imposing on the property would be. Now, it's true that that benefits the village board, so if they came to the village board and asked to be released from it, I suppose modifications could be made. But other than that, no, it's recorded like an easement or anything else.
So if it were to remain residential with a limited office overlay allowance, that's probably a level of restriction that we'd be happy with. And it allows in the future to make changes if the village wanted to do a broad look in a future comprehensive plan and zoning to allow uses that nobody thought about today, but knew about 20 years from now, as you were inferring. It might be a better situation to have that, just to keep it from being as restrictive as it would be with the developer's agreement.
Yeah, it's like Carly said, I think what you're looking at is prohibiting certain uses as opposed to saying, this is what it is now and what it'll be forever and ever. And you're saying, you know, we won't allow car washes on the property, we won't allow gas stations, whatever it may be. And you just sort out those uses that you find unacceptable and
But if you stick to residential with limited office overlay, that's established that those uses aren't going to occur on the property without some future allowance by a future board.
yes,
Yeah, I mean, comparative to GC, it's very benign. I mean, it's really low impact.
well, if it's not a
And,
concern, it's not.
and it would give the owner of the property the ability to, as economics dictate and changes occur, to be able to go back and forth between offices and residential.
And just in my, having been a commercial developer, like I said, in 10 years, it's changed.
Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely a requirement for housing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this would have to go before the EHDRB, since it's a commercial.
Yes, it would, yeah. So, I mean, it's not a historic neighborhood, but it would, as a commercial.
As a commercial, yeah.
A development like this is definitely in alignment with the goals of the comprehensive plan, because we want to be providing more supportive housing.
That's what, so, really, even though Kathy White left, she, I don't really use, we'll say, real estate, live here, and teachers and firemen, and that's who rents these places, so I have 9 apartments and 8 are teachers in the village, in the Warwick school system, so.
Yeah.
Families there, and then I try to get the connections, and the price point is what I was looking for, because I see like I said, so much interest in it.
Missing. It's missing, that
Yeah.
price
Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
It-
And
to a great degree.
they're still good size and really built well, and For a two-bedroom in that price range, I'm not gonna find it, but I can still make money at that point.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you want to take this with you?
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
I'll leave these here for you. Do you want to keep these?
Just one set.
So,
They all got mushed up
Yeah,
together,
they're all
yeah.
mixed together. Yeah, sorry.
Great.
Love that picture of the former bus garage. Okay. Announcements. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Carly?
All right, I'm gonna, how about?
You want me to hold it for you?
Sure. Yep, what you see is a flyer there for Warwick's Winter Wiggle, Shake Off the Post-Holiday Blues. That will take place on Saturday, January 25th, with a snow date of January 26th, but it looks like the weather is gonna hold out from 4:30 to 7:30 p.m. at Mountain Lake Park. That's the former Kutz Camp at 46 Bowen Road. And RSVP is not required, but it is encouraged to kalora@villageofwarwick.org. And so a little bit more information about this event. This is a collaboration between Warwick Cares and the Warwick Valley Community Center and the Warwick Prevention Coalition with support from the town of Warwick and the village of Warwick. There are a number of other organizations that are also involved, and specifically this is really about connecting our community with itself, connecting community members with all of the different ways to get involved in the community, and specifically timed with kind of the one of the harder times of year when people are really dealing with the post-holiday blues and seasonal affective disorder. So there'll be mental health related resources there. We will have a community showcase table with information about all the various nonprofits and organizations that people can get involved with. The ambulance corps will be there to sign up volunteers. Orange County Mental Health Services will be there, and there will be square dancing, which I'm particularly very excited about. And then there's been significant food donated by local restaurants. So this has really been kind of a town-wide collaboration, and we're really excited about it. Oh, yes, this is, and Mary, this was Mary's idea, which is an excellent one, because during this time of year, it's also difficult to drive around, and so the Dial-A-Bus is going to offer free transportation for town residents to and from the event. So if you're interested in having those services, if you need help getting there and getting home, there's a phone number on the flyer and on the website. So please RSVP to Dial-A-Bus by Friday. Just let them know where you are, and they'll work with you to get you picked up and dropped off safely. And it is an alcohol-free event. It's family friendly for kids of all ages. So yeah, looking forward to it. American Legion will be there, Lions Club,
everyone.
yeah.
But it's a great venue for Mountain Lake Park. I mean, they have the room and the room to dance and I think and eat.
Yep, and the food room, and then there will be kind of a quiet room set aside for folks that might be overstimulated by lots of music and dancing. So trying to kind of ensure that this event is really inclusive for everyone.
Good. Great job.
Yeah, thank you so much for pulling this all together and taking the lead on it. I think it's such a great thing, and just to see everyone working together and having emails of people being interested and wanting to donate. It's been really nice.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I can't take the credit. This is really like a big group thing. Judy Batista with Warwick Cares and
course.
Karen with the community center and all of the volunteers, and also the youth groups have been getting involved. So the Warwick Valley Community Center's Girls Circle, Orange County Youth. So that's been, the Girl Scouts will be there. So
There you go.
Will
be
we
a
have
lot of fun.
cookies?
yeah, and we'll have a really big acknowledgements board to kind of thank all of the restaurants. I mean, all the usual suspects are donating food, but also some folks that, you know, we haven't seen a lot of before, like
Yeah.
some new restaurants and so
Some out of
it's
town
gonna be,
restaurants.
yeah, it's gonna be pretty delicious.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
I, the word hootenanny came up in the office, and no one knew what that was.
Yeah, so we rebranded it. Well,
It's
we're,
not really a New York thing.
yeah, if this is successful, we'll do it in the fall, and I think it'll be a hootenanny. But, you know, we were talking about how the village also, we have summer concert series and activities like that, but sometimes we really need to connect when it's dark and cold. So,
That's a good
yeah,
plan.
so we're gonna have a winter wiggle.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And under correspondence, tonight, we have a report from Village Attorney Steve Govitt on the petition for a zone change at 42 Orchard Street, Section 210, Block 11, Lot 5. And do you want to just brief the board a bit on this?
Well, it's easier with pictures, but
Okay.
long and the short of
Well,
it
we
is,
No, we don't.
it's a subdivision of the lot at 42 Orchard, in which half of it, the northern half, is going to be adjoined to the Elm Street lot, so they can be used in the car wash facility that's up there. It's not contrary to your comprehensive plan. If you want to move forward with it, you certainly can move forward with it. The only reason they need a zoning change is because if they want to integrate the lot that's being adjoined to the Elm Street completely into the car wash use, they need to have a change of zoning from the residential to the LI. So if the board is interested in entertaining it, the next steps would be that you would, because I believe the planning, I couldn't really tell from the petition or the zoning board, or the planning board's resolution, but it looks like the planning board completed its secret review. They did an uncoordinated review. So that means that you would have to introduce a public law, you're going to introduce the local law. You're going to need another EAF so that you can conduct your own uncoordinated secret review in regard to it. You'll have to send out the notices as I listed in my letter, and you move forward with the public hearing and, you know, if you're interested, adopting the local law at the end of the day.
All the planning board did was grant subdivision approval, correct?
I believe so. I don't recall there being
There
any
was no
special
site plan
permits
or anything,
No.
anything
I think
relative to the
I think
usage.
they need site plan actually to incorporate it into the car wash use, so that probably hasn't been, yes, that's right, now I recall. They have 1 year to get the zoning changed, that's what the planning board's resolution says. And if they, once they get the zoning changed, they'll come back for site plan with the lot included. If they don't get it within 1 year, they have to come back for site plan approval with the little additional lot not being, you know, without a zoning change. So, yeah, there's a site plan element to this as well, but that's kind of been deferred.
Right. Thank you.
You know, yesterday's across the stream had to build where it built because of floodplains. Is this not in a floodplain of some?
I don't know whether it's in a floodplain or not.
Would the seeker have that information?
It would certainly have to be provided, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay,
It might not be.
I can answer a bunch of these questions if you want me to.
very good.
So the approval we got from the planning board was conditioned on our ability, you know, conditional approval, conditioned on our ability to get the zone change, number one. Number two, a portion of the property is in the flood zone, but none of the structures or improvements are within the flood zone. And we're not proposing any construction or improvements, so regardless of how much of the property is within the flood zone, we're not building a thing. So there's no flood zone regulations that are being violated.
If fencing was required, would that violate the flood zone requirements?
Rather than fencing, we are doing plantings. I believe,
Well,
I'd have to
that's,
double check.
that's, yeah, I mean, that's what you're planning to propose to the planning
Right.
board on your site plan,
It's a
okay?
good question. I don't know if we can put a fence up in a flood zone, but my recollection is the fencing that's proposed is adjacent to the residential houses which is outside the flood zone. The flood zone comes in toward the vacuum center and stops somewhere around there, but does not extend as far as the fencing that would be constructed along the backyards of the houses.
You can.
Because I believe each of those lots, including the one that you have received the subdivision approval on, goes all the way to the creek. And so the next
Well,
lot.
that lot, yes, I'm talking about the lots that back up against the Elm,
So
not
it'd
the
be
Elm
like
Street.
32, 34,
The
36.
Orchard Street lots
Right,
that back up to the car wash, there's a fence that
Right,
extends
yes,
the entire
yes.
length of their property.
yes.
And we're gonna continue
Yeah.
that fence along 42 Orchard Street.
But you're gonna come to a point where you would have to then, to stay with the property line, take that fence to the creek, because that next property past the Mann property goes all the
44.
way to the creek, does it
That one
not?
does, but the fence isn't gonna go that far. It's gonna stop at the end of 42.
At the end of 42, but then,
Stop.
it may be required to take it from, 90 degrees, turn it 90 degrees and take it to the
We have
creek.
plantings under
Okay.
90-degree turn.
Okay.
So is it a floodplain or a floodway?
That's gonna be my question, because you can do a fence in a floodplain.
The discussions that the engineer had with the board described it as the flood zone. Nobody talked about the floodway. I know what the floodway is, because my building's in the floodway, so.
Let me see here.
I never heard of a flood zone.
Yeah, and
Well, flood zone
anything
means
that is mapped is
The
a
water
flood
will come up
zone.
over the embankment,
Okay.
but it'll stay there stagnant. The floodway means you have
Running
rushing
water,
water
yeah.
going around your building, which I've seen at my
Engineer
building.
didn't
Yes, I know.
mention.
Not much fun to watch.
They're both technically flood zones though, because if
Right.
it's
Yes.
mapped,
Right,
if
right.
it's a mapped special flood hazard area,
Right.
it's a flood.
I mean, we-
Floodway is just much more dangerous than the flood zone in general.
Right. I mean, we
Zone A.
worked with FEMA to purchase one of the buildings not far from this area.
Maybe they want to buy my building.
No. Maybe FEMA does and give it to us. We'll talk about that. So,
So in reading Steve's outline here, we will comply with our commitments to prepare an environmental assessment form. I will identify how far we are from
Is that it?
the county highway, Oakland Avenue, or the state highway,
yeah.
Oakland Avenue. And
Is that
I'm gonna leave it up to Steve, I guess, to draft the proposed local law.
Yeah,
Looks
if
like the
board's
whole thing
interested
is in a
going forward,
floodway.
Are you interested in going forward with local law?
That's it, right?
so the use of this is really just to expand, or it already exists, right?
It's allowed to allow the continued use of traffic going around the back of the building to
Right.
get to the entrance of the parking lot.
See?
Historically, it's always been used that way under a written lease agreement
Yeah, I think so.
with Ms. Mann and the prior owners of the Mann going back to, I think, 1972 was the first lease agreement, but it just
Yeah.
never conformed
We're
with
just making it official.
the zoning district, which was zoned residential.
I see.
The building inspector talked to my client about it. My client is very particular about making sure everything is perfect, and he doesn't like having this loose end out there. Someday he's gonna wanna sell it. He doesn't want this to be an issue, so he's doing everything he can do to bring the property into compliance at extraordinary expense, I might add, for simply allowing him to continue driving cars around the back of the building.
Well, he parks there as well, doesn't he?
There's some parking back there, yes.
Yeah, and they push the snow there.
It looks like the whole property is in the floodway.
I think about half of it, but I'm not the engineer, so I can't speak to
Keith,
that.
Keith didn't mention it in his letter.
Yeah, that looks like the whole thing.
I think the site plan shows the location of the flood zone, which we don't have here tonight, unfortunately, so.
Do you wanna see it?
I believe you.
Oh. I mean, I was just seeing if you wanted to see it.
Okay.
I understand that this has been an arrangement with the owners of 42 for a long time, but I think the concern of everyone in the neighborhood is a continual, adoption of the residential properties into the car wash. But my understanding is that if we do this piece, that doesn't put us into any spot where we would have to zone change more of the residential into the light industrial.
No, it's right on the border of the two zones, you're just
Right.
extending the one.
Because right now, like the fences, they all have entryways into the car wash. Which, it is kind of acting like a big campus at this point.
It is, but that's how it is. I mean, it's been that way for years.
Yeah.
I mean, the only concern I mentioned in my letter was, look, you're taking the backyard of this property and you're dedicating it to LI uses. And yes, they just park and drive through now. But if they wanted to, once it's LI, they could put up a building or something else there. And yes, it's a concern like we talked about with the other zoning. But the fact of the matter is every lot in this neighborhood along Orchard has the car wash as part of its backyard.
Yeah.
So it isn't really any different from kind of the vibe that you have there now. I just don't see it as being that detrimental to use of the single-family home at 40 Orchard. I mean,
Right.
is it
No, I
a little
understand
bit
that.
if they put something there? Yeah, it might be, but, it's your decision. I'm just pointing out as a possible concern.
I guess I'm wondering if there could be eventual access to Orchard Street from that property. Didn't your client purchase one of the houses?
44.
I think he owns a number of houses
He
there.
owns,
Right.
I believe, 6 or 7.
Would it not benefit the neighborhood to maintain a continuous barrier between the light industrial uses and the residential uses and not allow that use to encroach upon the backyards of those properties?
There's an existing fence there right now that
There is.
prevents that from
There's a
happening.
Right,
fence
but there's
that goes-
access from the fences to the car wash.
Yeah,
They
so
open.
there would be a zoning, like, it would begin bleeding. It's bleeding
Yeah,
into the
that's what I'm
residential
saying,
area.
instead of-
And regardless of whether there's a fence there, there's now an allowable use that is venturing into the neighborhood.
That's what I was saying.
I don't like that. I feel like
Well,
there's-
this is different because this agreement has, in this piece of property, has been used without any really disturbance to the neighborhood. But my concern is in the future, if you zone change all the resident that the commercial property owner owns, because this is now coming up because he purchased that property, so now he has to zone change it. He already owns adjacent properties, so it would be one less step that he would just come to us for a zone change to incorporate it in the property.
But he would have to.
That's the concern.
But he would have to get his own change. I mean, it's not.
Right.
And,
But that's,
yeah.
no, I understand that, but that's the concern,
Mhm.
of full disclosure, I live in that neighborhood, so it is a concern.
Right.
And I'm not trying to influence the board in any way, but this isn't an
Right.
expansion of use, this has been going on for years.
Right.
They're not
Exactly,
proposing
yeah.
anything different than what's there now. If it was, let's incorporate another lot or another half a lot to do something different on, I think then, your concern would really be brought to the front, but here where it's however many years they've been doing
Yeah,
this.
they're just making it official, I understand that.
Somebody made the suggestion that more buildings could be built, but I disagree with that. There are setback requirements that would prohibit that. And since we're in the flood zone, there's not gonna be any more construction going on there. Can't construct anything within the flood zone.
But could, let's say a future board, future situation, someone come in that sees this change and uses that as like the potential for further action within the neighborhood? It seems to, like, it would, on the map, it would demonstrate like an intention for that use of the car wash to penetrate the residential neighborhood to a degree. It's a small degree, but that barrier between the residential neighborhood and the residential uses begins to dissolve.
Yeah.
And that's a significant use.
You're at the line between two different, very different uses between the LI and the R, and that's always gonna be a concern when you have that type of a dividing line between.
Well, that's a situation on West Street, and,
No, we're not doing this in our initiative. The building inspector wants us to do this, and we're just saying, okay, we'll do
sure,
it.
understood.
So this isn't part of a scheme to continue.
No, I
expand the
know.
footprint. It's,
Right, but you have to understand the concerns.
totally
there.
The long
understand.
term.
just want you to understand, our perspective is we're not looking to continue to grow the
Right.
footprint. The building inspector said, I want you to fix this, and we said, okay, we'll fix it.
So, Bob, he does have a master site plan for his whole operation, correct?
Yes,
And so, in that site plan, there must be indications of fencing or
absolutely.
separation of the zones, as you point out. So
I
maybe,
will provide copies of the approved site plan for the board,
okay,
Yeah, I'd
What's
like
the
to see
date of that?
August or September.
Oh, this okay, that was a, excuse me, a site plan that was provided to planning board as part of an application,
Yes. so
which
we-
they didn't act on.
No, that they approved the lot line change,
Right.
conditioned on our getting the zone. But they wanted all the detail shown on the subdivision map as if they were
Okay.
giving a site plan approval. So all the detail you're asking about is there.
Okay.
okay. Well, we'd love to see that then. That'd be great. Okay. Anything else? Guys? Glad you were in the audience, Bob.
Yeah, thanks a
I
lot.
appreciate it.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
And our next letter under correspondence is a letter from the Orange County Department of Health regarding the inspection of the Village of Waters community water supply. And Barry, I'm going to lean on you to maybe give us a
Quick summary.
quick summary.
Some of what they raised has already been taken care of. We were storing snow blowers and gasoline in more than one of the treatment plants. So
Okay.
they said, get that out of there. So
That makes
basically, DPW is gonna take that over and just come in and do it with every snowstorm and do the mowing. So, we don't need lawn mowers and things like that. There were some trees near one of the storage tanks. The limbs have been cut back so that they're no longer rubbing against the outside of the tank. There were some chemical storage, some of the treatment chemicals that needed to be corrected. Some issues with some of the storage tanks in looking at them from the standpoint of I guess maintaining them in a bigger way than we have been. We've kind of been holding off, looking to consolidate some of them,
Yep.
so that's been an issue. Just a general comment about lead service lines, that there's a reporting form that we have to submit. We've complied with everything in 2024 that we were required to do, so we just have to memorialize that in that filing with the state. A little bit of talk about the drought that we incurred. We were still in the throes of that when the inspection took place on October 29th, so they were just asking us to keep them apprised of what's going on.
Our reservoirs are full.
The reservoirs are now full and overflowing, yes. And there were some things that we have to get back in touch with the County Health Department about. And that's pretty much the sum total of it. So,
It was
I mean,
pretty thorough, I
all
thought.
in all, I think they're very satisfied. That's the way they express things. That, like the last sentence, next to the last sentence, the water supply continues to be well operated and maintained. So you know, there are little things that we need to attend to that were addressed as a result of the inspection. So,
Very good. Well, that's probably going to be our next focus is on that water plant, you know,
yes, the reservoir.
the reservoir plant.
Yeah, yeah. And the storage, some of the storage
And some of the
tanks,
storage tanks, yeah. Okay, thank you.
especially the ones we're gonna keep.
Thank you very much. And then, under discussions, Warwick Commons has proposed street names for private roads. Road A, located on lot number 3, and Road B, located on lot number 2. Section block, I don't think I need to say that, but,
Can I ask is it okay if I go back? Am I
Sure.
allowed to do that?
Sure.
To the correspondence? Because
Yeah.
I have a question for
course.
Steve. So what this petition is ultimately requesting is to allow storage of commercial, sort of industrial assets on the backyard of a residential property.
No, to drive through and park.
It says that, it said also that there's stuff stored there, but I guess vehicles.
I
to
think the
drive.
best thing you can do is maybe anyway him just drive because like seeing it, I think you'll really understand because it really was like a sliver of her property. It really is just like a sliver. But when you're coming, like if you get gas at the gas station part and you go around, like as you exit through, when you kind of come, like you come around, I think there's snow there now, or maybe they store stuff like that. I think maybe you'll understand it more if you see it.
yeah, I agree. I think you should take maybe during the day, actually. It's
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
You could drive me home.
With the light industrial
Yeah.
zoning applied to that piece that they're subdividing, they can do whatever's allowed in the light industrial zone on that
Right.
piece.
Right.
Right.
But there's setbacks.
Oh, yeah.
It's
yeah,
very
yeah.
close. It's very close to the creek.
It's a pretty narrow lot.
It's almost on the bank. And the reason why I'm saying I think it'll help if you see it, it's like a very strange shape and situation.
Thanks. I
You're
just needed
welcome.
to-
If you drive by, call me. We can go for coffee.
Thanks.
So, under discussions, some street names. They gave us a list.
So could I just kind of preface things with the way I think we should probably be handling these things? And that is that I really believe that streets should be named and those names should have some historical significance to the village of Warwick.
Yeah.
And maybe even to the point of us coming up with a list of a dozen names that haven't been used already,
That sounds like fun.
that we then say, okay, let's talk about these names with the developer and say,
Sure.
where do we want to land with these names? I think that Warwick Grove did an excellent job.
That's true.
I agree
ASCII,
with
Cowdery.
you. Yeah.
So I think that's a good example to use as something that I think worked out great.
We
So,
could lean on the Historical Society,
I
definitely.
was just thinking that.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
There's nothing wrong with that, that's a perfectly valid approach to take. The only concern that you're gonna wanna keep an eye on is 911. You don't wanna name a road after someone who's got another road named after them, either in the town or Florida or
Right.
something
Yeah.
like that.
Right.
And that,
Right.
yeah. And that was one of my concerns with one of these.
Florida's got Wheeler, we've got
Yeah.
Wheeler.
Orchard.
We've got
I think there's an
5,
orchard.
4 or
Maple.
5 with park in it. We've
What's
got
done is
Parkway,
done.
Park Lane, Park Place, Park Ave,
And that's-
4, right?
That's fine, it's less than
Yeah.
ideal, but if you have opportunity going forward to make
Yes.
sure that there's no confusion if there's
Right.
911.
Right.
Right, and that was my concern with Edenville Path because I grew up in Edenville on Edenbrook Road, which was always confused with Edenville Road. And Edenville Path, I think, is just too
Yeah.
confusing. And I also like flagged things like Wickham, Meadow Lane,
Yeah.
like Applewood Grove is confusing because Orchard Grove, veterinarian hospital is right there.
Yeah, I didn't think any of their names that they suggested were all that exciting or appropriate.
Or historical.
Or
No,
historical.
definitely not historical.
And then the ridges too, because I think there's up above like Southern Lane in that development, and then in that development off of Ball Road, isn't that Ridge?
Ridgefield.
Ridgefield.
Right. But then you have, like I said, East Ridge, West Ridge.
Yeah, within the town. Yeah.
If you're looking for trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very confusing.
Yeah, so I don't know how quickly we have to do this, but.
So why don't we
um,
give, okay, we have homework, okay?
Yeah.
Everybody kind of put their thinking caps on, talk to our friends at the Historical Society and come up with a list and we'll,
Yeah. What about the names of apples? No? Historical reference?
that's what we thought.
That's weird.
It's
Or,
not,
yeah.
that's not too on the nose.
Macintosh Lane,
Historical.
Wine Sap,
Yeah, oh, Wayne's that's a good one.
Cortlandt Street.
There you go.
There you go.
So
I
anyway.
think there's a town in the Hudson Valley that doesn't have apple named streets. I really think you need to think a little
Well,
more
I
outside the
mean,
box.
well, I mean,
We will.
Maple, Oak,
Yeah,
Pine.
Maple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tree
All
Street.
right, I will bring that up to my friends there and see what we can come up with.
Yeah. I'm sure there's some unsung hero.
I'm sure there is.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll move on into motions. And Barry, do you want to start? There's no public comment.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, let me catch up. Here we go. Number one, motion to approve payment number 3 in the amount of $23,835.50 to TAM Enterprises, Inc. for the well number 3 treatment plant project as per the recommendation of village engineer Pittengarrow and Dosh, consulting engineers PC. Funds are appropriated in budget code F.8330.2350.
Okay.
Second?
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to grant permission to Village of Warwick employee Matthew Han to carry over 5 vacation days.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to grant permission to Village of Warwick employee Antonio Rivera to carry over 12 vacation days pending consultation with Labor Council and Teamsters Union.
Okay. Let me just explain.
We get second first.
Second.
Second.
Oh, second,
Yeah.
thank you.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Let me explain. Our contract reads the limitation of 5 vacation days. So to go beyond that, even though there was circumstances that I think Tony pointed out to us, he was he had an injury and he couldn't use his vacation time, and that we would have to make an agreement basically with the union as to what surrounds this change. Correct?
Side letter, yeah.
Yeah, side letter. Okay,
Thank you.
okay, so we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to promote Village of Warwick DPW laborer Michael Finelli to the position of Assistant Public Works Supervisor with a start date of January 24th, 2025, in accordance with Orange County Civil Service.
Second. Oh, you have it.
I can say that, we follow the protocol of advertising that position. We haven't had that position in some time, but we see the merits of it. And so it was advertised. We had 3 people internally apply for it. They were all good candidates. But Michael definitely shown his leadership skills and his I think creativity as well. So I think we've made a good decision. So
Great.
so we have a second. All in favor? Aye.
Motion to grant permission to the Warwick Valley Chamber of Commerce to hold the 35th Warwick Apple Fest on Sunday, October 5th, 2025, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. in the area between Lewis Park and Stanley Deming Park, encompassing High Street, South Street, Railroad Avenue, and Railroad Green, including the following parking lots: South Street parking lot, Chase Bank parking lot, First Street parking lot, plus use of Veterans Memorial Park for event parking. Event setup will begin at 6 a.m. and breakdown will be complete by 7 p.m. Request includes use of 9 village-owned stage platforms, use of electricity, use of speakers and/or sound systems, setup of food trucks, vendors, portable toilets, setup of tents on Sunday, October 5th, as per their letter dated December 3rd, 2024. Completed facility use application, proper insurance, detailed map, and security deposit have been received. Approval is subject to the Warwick Valley Chamber of Commerce providing the Village of Warwick with a complete list of vendors and individual vendor insurance certificates naming the Village of Warwick as an additional insured.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay.
Motion to close South Street to Lawrence Avenue, Railroad Avenue, 2nd Street, 3rd Street, High Street, Bank Street, Clinton Avenue, Park Lane, Parkway, and Park Place for the benefit of Apple Fest 2025 on Sunday, October 5th, 2025. The only transportation allowed through Park Lane and Park Place will be the shuttle bus. Road closures will be in coordination with the Warwick Police Department and the Village of Warwick DPW.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Motion to grant permission to the Warwick Valley Chamber of Commerce to hold the Warwick Valley Farmers Market in the South Street parking lot on Sundays from April 27th, 2025 through November 23rd, 2025 with the exclusion of Apple Fest Sunday. The parking lot will be used from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. with the event open from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. The farmers market is responsible for paying the calculated daily rate for electricity on Sundays and half the total cost of the portable toilets. Department of Public Works to post no parking signage in the South Street parking lot that includes Sunday, April 27, 2025. Completed facility use permit, proof of insurance, and security deposit have been received.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Motion to grant permission to the Warwick Little League to use Veteran Memorial Park and Stanley Deming Ball Fields for the 2025 Little League season, which will extend from March 1st, 2025 through November 20th, 2025, and to use the Veterans Memorial Park Pavilion in the surrounding area to hold Picture Day on Saturday, April 26, 2025 from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. with a rain date of Saturday, May 3rd, 2025. Completed park permit and security deposit have been received. Approval is pending proof of proper insurance.
Great.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Motion to grant permission to the Warwick Little League to hold an opening parade on Saturday,
Okay.
April
Bookends
26,
abstainers.
2025 with a I just wanted to make sure we still had enough people. We do.
Just
Count in my head. The parade will step off promptly at 10 a.m. with line beginning at 9:30 a.m. on High Street. The parade route will be the same as the previous year, starting on High Street, Main Street, Railroad Avenue, South Street, Parkway, Park Lane, and then crossing Forester Avenue into Memorial Park. The Warwick Police Department, Fire Department, and Ambulance Service will be contacted and asked to provide services for the event. Approval is pending proof of proper insurance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Motion to close High Street on Saturday, April 26, 2025, starting at 9 a.m. for the benefit of the Little League Parade. Barriers to be provided by the Department of Public Works. The parking spaces on the east side of Main Street between High Street and Church Street to be designated as no parking to allow the area to be used for participant drop-off.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Motion to grant a Village of Warwick taxi cab license to Raymond Hoffman, owner of Flyby Taxi LLC, through May 31st, 2025, per Village Code, Chapter 126, proof of New York State Department of Motor Vehicles driver's license, New York State livery registration, and Village of Warwick background check and fees have been received. Warwick Police Department background check has been completed and approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to appoint Michael J. Batts Sr. and Elizabeth Doty as machine operators and Noel Thompson as alternative machine operator for the Tuesday, March 18, 2025 general village election at a rate of $15 per hour.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to appoint Victoria Haig as election inspector chair for the general village election on Tuesday, March 18, 2025 at a rate of $15 per hour.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to appoint Mary Singer, Nancy Thompson, and Donald Grenier as election inspectors and Deborah Sattler as alternate election inspector for the general village election on Tuesday, March 18, 2025 at a rate of $15 per hour.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to appoint Vanessa Mann as poll clerk, alternative election inspector for the general village election on Tuesday, March 18, 2025 at a rate of $15 per hour.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And do you feel a conflict with the next one, Mary?
Not really.
No? Okay.
Motion to advertise for the position of Village of Warwick Architectural Historic District Review Board member or alternate member.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to advertise for the position of Village of Warwick Zoning Board of Appeals member or alternate member.
Second. Oh, sorry. You can have that.
It's yours.
All
Just
in
look quick on the
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We have a couple of addendums.
All right,
And-
want me to grab the first one here?
Yeah.
Motion to amend Schedule B pricing of the subcontractor agreement with Albright Electric signed on December 20th, 2023 to install LED streetlights and smart controls due to a one-year delay in beginning the work, and authorize the mayor to sign the amended Schedule B pricing. Purchase order dated January 16th, 2025, increasing certain unit prices.
Okay.
Second.
Do you want to explain that a little bit?
Well, because of the one-year delay, they came to the village and requested an increase in the unit costs for installing the LED streetlights and the smart controls. We negotiated a price that was consistent with the North CPI, Consumer Price Index for the Northeast over the last 12 months, so, which is 3.5%, so they had asked for something
Much higher.
much higher than that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And just a quick follow-up, their plan was to begin the installation February 3rd. They're working on the notice to proceed this week. It may happen before, the beginning may happen before February 3rd, so.
Okay. And Carly, do you want to take the next one?
May I read it from your hands?
Of course.
Because I'm
Yeah.
just having a hard time. Okay. Resolution consenting to representation of Warwick Skate Park Initiative. Whereas Warwick Skate Park Initiative is building a skate park for dedication to the Village of Warwick, and whereas Warwick Skate Park Initiative wishes to retain the law firm of Drake Loeb as counsel in regard to the contract for construction of the skate park with Artisan Skate Parks, and whereas the proposed representation of Warwick Skate Park Initiative by Drake Loeb PLLC presents a conflict of interest because Drake Loeb PLLC currently represents the Village of Warwick, and whereas under the New York State Rules of Professional Conduct, the conflict of issue is technical and may be waived by the parties upon full disclosure of the conflict and written consent by both parties. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village Board has been fully apprised of the proposed representation of Warwick Skate Park Initiative by Drake Loeb PLLC, and hereby waives any objection to the conflict of interest presented by such representation.
Okay,
Second.
it's a roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry, do I have to abstain from this or no? Because of my involvement with the skate park throughout the years?
What is your involvement with the skate park? You a member? Initiative.
Yeah, the initiative.
Then you should abstain.
Okay, abstain.
That's why I didn't have you read it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Trustee Cheney?
Yes.
Trustee Foster?
Yes.
I'm just gonna say trustee Calora, so you can abstain.
Abstain?
Okay. Mayor Newhart?
Yes.
And then
That one by.
we have a
We have another unwritten motion, but you want to explain it a
yeah,
little bit?
Sure. I'll make the motion and then it can second it.
Yeah.
and-
and you
Okay.
can describe.
So motion to allow the mayor to enter into a contract agreement with separately Jasmine Clark and Eliza Schiff as actually the companies that represent them for the purposes of being special project coordinator in alignment with the RFPs that were, the RFP that was released.
Second.
So,
I can explain
two of
this.
them?
So the way that we released the RFP, it enabled us to select more than one project coordinator. And one was a little bit higher cost than the other, but was more qualified. And so what we're thinking would benefit the village the most is to be able to have task order contracts with both of them. And then, you know, for certain things that would require kind of the higher qualified individual, we could leverage their support. And then for others, yeah.
Great.
Kind of like we're doing with the electrical contract.
Exactly, well,
Yeah.
yes. But I think these will be more in tandem, working with each other.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I think it also gives us more flexibility because the special project coordinator contract is very flexible, and they both have different backgrounds and that could be of use and value to the village.
Very good.
Thank
So-
you.
So we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that was the end of motions, reports. Trustee Cheney?
Yep. Department of Public Works is hiring for the labor position. If you are interested, I would suggest that you drop off a resume or a letter of interest to the village clerk and at Village Hall, 77 Main Street. And just a little bit more follow-up relative to the streetlight conversion project. So if you hadn't heard me the last 2 meetings, I'll repeat it again, but the village now owns its streetlights, which means that anyone who wants to report an issue with a streetlight needs to do that through the Department of Public Works. You can call 845-986-2031, and when prompted, enter 6, and that will get you directly to the DPW. Or you can email at dpw@villageofwarwick.org. And I mentioned that the possibility was that we'd be beginning on February 3rd. We had kind of a pre-project kickoff meeting with the installer and our project manager consultant. And at that meeting, based on a February 3rd start date, they were talking about a March 14th completion date. So it's about 6 weeks. There's a possibility they may get started sooner. We'll make sure we post it on social media as things firm up a little more.
Good. Great.
Thank you.
Yep. So you heard the update about the Winter Wiggle. I am starting to meet with the Youth and Government Club at the high school again, starting this week.
Good.
And so I'll report back feedback that comes from that crew. And then also working on the RAISE application. So folks may recall that we submitted a funding application in 2023 that consisted of 5 elements. It had revisiting the design for complete streets along West Street. It included the same for the full stretch of Galloway, which has now been, part of that has been resolved with New York State DOT. It included effectively some preliminary design for the multi-use trail along Route 94, sidewalks along South Street Extension, or design, plan and design thereof. And then the 5th element was doing a detailed condition assessment of all of our sidewalks, and then supporting the development of policy and different potential revenue mechanisms that we might be able to kind of maintain them moving forward. Like, what are the options, right? So, and we were viewed back in 2023 as highly competitive, which means that if there was funding available, we would have been funded, but alas, we were not. We just missed the threshold. And part of it is because when they looked to spread the money around, they looked geographically, and there was another winner very close by. Yeah. So we did resubmit in 2024, and I had pulled out some scope elements and thinking that might help us. But it didn't. It hurt us. So we're going after it again, and I've kind of resubmitting the 2023, but with some very minor adjustments. For example, we have the multi-use trail feasibility study in progress. So rather than just kind of including that preliminary design, it would take us all the way through 60%. So hopefully it would, really get us into some of the nitty-gritty of any permitting issues. And then another adjustment would be with Galloway Road. We have sidewalks presumably coming from Oakland Avenue to South Street.
Right, correct.
And so this would include design and everything else that we would need, full design to get us all the way out to Forester
That'd be
and
great.
fix that.
Yep.
area.
Yeah,
So, if we get it,
it would be amazing.
that would be great. And also, there's no local match required. It could be 100% federal funding because we're a rural community.
Wow.
So,
Very good.
yeah, I'm not optimistic, but I'm hoping,
Okay.
hopeful,
Okay.
because this is the third time.
Well, third
have-
time's a charm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if we've learned anything from some of the others.
We gotta be
like the-
persistent.
Yeah, you gotta,
Yeah.
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 You gotta be in it to win it, and, you know, how many, I guess it was only the second time around on, the dams, but
Right.
we were successful
We
there,
were.
and,
Persistence pays
Okay,
off.
I'm cautiously optimistic.
There you go.
That's
Very
good.
Yeah,
I like that better.
yeah, and they're a lot of work, those applications, but,
They are, and thank you. Thank
yeah,
you
no,
for that work.
no problem.
It's been
And
amazing. Mary?
Yeah, I have a couple events coming up with the Warwick Historical Society on Sunday, February 9th. The Historical Society will be hosting In Conversation with Michael Bertolini. That will be from 2 to 3:30 p.m. and that will be at the Buckbee Center. Join us for an exclusive afternoon of stories, insights, and reflections drawn from his remarkable 50-year journey with the Historical Society. And then they're also having their annual Tavern Night at Baird's Tavern, which is Thursday, March 27th from 6 to 8 p.m. These and other events can be viewed on their website at warwickhistory.org.
And is it Galentine?
Oh, Galentine's with the, I don't have the info, and then the other one, Warwick Cares too. So there's other events coming up. Do we have time to announce that one for the next one? The Warwick Merchants Guild will be hosting a Galentine's event on Thursday, February 13th from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. There will be specials throughout the village at different stores and restaurants.
We do have a meeting before then.
yeah, we
Okay.
do, yeah.
And then, okay, then I could save the other one too. And Warwick Cares will be hosting a Valentine's making event on February 9th from 2 to 4 p.m. at the Warwick Valley Community Center. We have time to announce that one too.
That
So
was a
I'll
lot
have
of
more
fun last year.
information. It was so fun.
Yeah.
I'm really glad we're doing it again.
That's
Arts
great
and crafts.
last year, yeah.
And I just have one thing to report and to ask the public. When our DPW is out during a storm and then after a storm, it's a multi-phase cleaning up, and sometimes it takes 2 nights. For example, this past storm, they took care of the roads the first night and crucial sidewalk areas, pedestrian areas. But then the next night they come back and they clean up Route 94, which is Main Street, they do all the parking areas adjacent to the sidewalk, so that our residents who want to go to a business can park on Main Street. And it is quite an operation. But we also go into other neighborhoods and clean up in those areas as well. Well, this past storm, there were at least 20 cars that were out and about on our streets, our tight little streets. And it caused a tremendous amount of frustration for our drivers with these big plows trying to navigate around so many cars. And it was definitely, it's important for people to know and to respect that it's our local ordinance during winter weather that there's no on-street parking. And I know it's difficult, but if you can't find something in a municipal lot, because we do have some 12-hour lots, then you can talk to a neighbor and maybe, share. But it really was so frustrating for the men, and so I heard a lot about it. But it's important because everybody wants their streets to be clean, and if it's done in a haphazard way, then it's not safe. So
Were they cited?
what's that?
The cars, were they cited, ticketed?
I will. They were finally. Yeah. So took a while. Yeah. So that's all I have as But we do have to go into executive session. Final comments from the board before we? Nope.
No?
No public is here, so no more public comment. So,
Is it a closed session? Because we have a closed session motion on. the
yes,
agenda.
it's a closed session, so
To seek confidential advice of counsel.
that's correct.
Do you want me to read the thing? Or no, we don't.
We don't
do
need
that?
to, we just need to read
Yeah.
this.
So,
Okay.
Okay. Oh, go ahead.
Motion to enter into closed session to seek confidential advice of counsel.
Okay.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And we will return into our regular session, but we will not perform any motions or any village business. We will just adjourn, so.
Okay. I'm gonna take a quick break while that's going on.
Could I have that?